All signs point to this, as we have multiple new reports dropping, revealing some huge information surrounding Rob Pelinka's pursuit of a center. We're going to break down these reports and discuss what it means going forward as the Lakers signing is imminent. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. We're approaching 15,000 subscribers. If you want to help us towards that goal and you're enjoying the daily Lakers coverage, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys once again for your continued support. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a ton of reports dropping surrounding a bunch of different Lakers targets. We've covered them here on the channel, from players overseas in the EuroLeague, like Eddie Tavares, to players like Daniel Tice. But a new report has just dropped revealing some huge information surrounding not only who the Lakers are going to be targeting, but we have some insight now on who they and how fast they're going to be signing one of these players. Stay tuned for all that on this episode. Let's start with this here. So this just dropped. Alex Len will no longer be signing with the Indiana Pacers per Dustin Dopirak. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly. Len and the Lakers hold mutual interest after their trade for Mark Williams fell through. So there's a bunch of different things to go over here. Obviously, at this juncture, the Lakers are going to play, are playing tonight against the Jazz and Luka Doncic debut, all these different things, but they still desperately need a starting center. And this is the first time in a little bit that multiple reports have dropped. So Evan Sitter is saying there's mutual interest between the Lakers and, of course, Alex Len. I covered him a little bit, and we heard that before the Mark Williams trade was finalized, that he was signing with the Pacers, and everybody assumed that he was going to go to the Pacers, but he seemingly, and according to multiple reports here, he's no longer going that direction, which means it seems that the Lakers at this juncture are the front runners to land Alex Len. It seems like that's going to be the player that they go for. And it says here, Len, one of the best bigs in the buyout market, was slated to sign with the Pacers. However, he's opted not to sign in Indiana. This points to Len having a bigger opportunity elsewhere. That role could be in LA, as the purple and gold need a center. The current rotation, as we know, Jackson Hayes, Christian Koloko, Trey Jemison. Len could be a solid veteran backup center for the Lakers. Hasn't played much this season. In a bigger role, he could contribute as a rebounder and defender. While Len wouldn't solve the Lakers center problems, he would add much needed depth, and they would have to waive one player on the active roster to sign Len. So this is interesting. Now, I'm not a huge fan necessarily of Alex Len. I don't think he fits alongside Luka Doncic very well at all. We've been talking about what type of players the Lakers want, and it is in the form of specifically someone to pair with Luka Doncic, someone who can pick and roll, play really good interior defense, and be agile. Alex Len is really none of those. He's an okay interior defender. He goes up. He's a big body. He can go up against some of the big players in the league. Again, that's why I think the Lakers at this point, the reason they're linked to guys like Alex Len, and at this point, it seems like he's going to sign with the Lakers. It's because now it's a good compliment to Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is started tonight's game against, of course, the Jazz. He's starting that game. And not only that, but you now have someone off of the bench who's a 7-footer. He's big, he's strong, he can play some defense against some of those big centers. And then against the more agile, smaller lineups, you can either run, a no center lineup, which we're going to see a ton of with, I guess, whoever you want to put as the pseudo 5, big lineups with LeBron, Dorian Finney-Smith, all those different guys. But then against the bigger lineups, you can have a guy like Alex Len. And you can see this here from the reporter who said that he's not signing with the Pacers. I'd guess Len ends up with the Lakers, but that's a guess. I just know he's not signing with the Pacers. So it seems like, all signs at this point are pointing to Len signing with the Lakers because, A, he backed out of his agreement with the Pacers. Now, when he signed with the Pacers, the Mark Williams trade was being finalized. It had already happened, but people thought that it was going to go through because, again, failing physicals rarely happens, as we know. So he signed with the Pacers, assuming that there wouldn't be a bigger role elsewhere. Now, as you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, it seems like he would be a very good fit, but also an increased role compared to the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, he could fight for, the starting center spot. I think he might be a little bit too slow for the starting center spot. Probably have him as the backup center. You see this here from Coach Rome. People don't want to hear it, but he's probably the best center available. And I think he's right with people don't want to hear it. The buyout market right now is very thin. We're talking about guys like JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Daniel Tice, a lot more agile centers. But when you're talking about guys who have played in the NBA and can be big bodies just to throw out there, I think Len is a better suit and a better fit for the backup center role. I don't think he's going to be a good starting center, but if they can get that from Jackson Hayes, like they have clearly a lot of faith in, we know that Jackson Hayes and Luka Doncic had some conversations behind the scenes. They've been, talking with each other, getting prepared to play with each other, especially now that the Mark Williams trade fell through. It seems like that's actually going to happen where Jackson Hayes is going to be the starting center. You can see this here from Keith Smith. Alex Len was ticketed for the Pacers, but a role with more playing time and potentially more than the prorated veteran minimum may have opened up with the Lakers after the rescinded trade. Something to keep an eye on. Len also wouldn't have to leave the West Coast that way. All signs at this point, ladies and gentlemen, seem to point to a Len signing. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on, Len as well. Do you want the Lakers to sign Alex Len, or would you prefer a guy like JaVale McGee, Daniel Tice? Because when it comes to Alex Len, he is an interesting player. And quite frankly, he is out of the buyout market. He's played the most games in the NBA this season, I believe. 36 games. He's not been producing at all. However, he's had some decent stretches in his career dating back to his time in Atlanta with the Hawks. Of course, now we're talking about Sacramento. He's only 31 years old. Like, if you can put him alongside Luka Doncic, he has a bit of a post game. He has a decent touch around the rim. Not a great defender when it comes to perimeter defense or metrics like blocks, but he's a big body you could put on the opposing team's big center. So when you're playing, like I've been mentioning, it's similar to Eddie Tavares, who I covered in a video earlier today surrounding the 7'3" guy. Like, yes, they're not going to be quick on the perimeter, but it would at least give you an option if the other team is going big off of the bench to be able to play big, to match up a little bit, to give Jackson Hayes some time off, to run with, some bigger lineups. And he has some, he's been in the NBA for a long time for a reason. I don't think he's a great fit. A lot of fans don't think that, they don't want him, all these different things. It is a very unique situation to where you're at the point now where not only do you need a center, when you're talking about players who are actually in rotations, and I mean, he's averaging 7 minutes a game. He's kind of fallen out of the Sacramento Kings rotation, but I mean, he's still compared to the rest of the buyout market, I mean, he's not a terrible option. Now, granted, he doesn't shoot threes. He's pretty slow, very slow defensively, having a really bad season, albeit he's barely playing in Sacramento. So it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do. I mean, as you look at the starting lineup now, we know their starters are Luka, Reaves, Hachimura, LeBron, and Jackson Hayes. Those are their starters going forward. JJ Redick said before the Jazz game, hey, before the game, against the Jazz, we're going to be starting with Rui for the foreseeable future. We did debate putting Dorian Finney-Smith in, but that's obviously not going to happen. So before tonight's game, he said for the foreseeable future, it's going to be probably Rui Hachimura at the 3. And this is, you're playing LeBron at the 4 now. I mean, it's going to be curious to see how Jackson Hayes holds up at the 5, because right now your backup center is Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, / Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, you're not going to run Jared Vanderbilt at the 5 unless you're running a really, really small lineup. He's obviously 6'8". I mean, Trey Jemison the third is probably going to be the the backup center for JJ Redick in most games until they, get their buyout guy for when they actually need a center to play here, because we saw it against the Warriors. They gave Trey Jemison some run. Christian Koloko is another guy. You now have Dalton Knecht, who's a pretty big wing. He is playing as well tonight, and he's going to be playing in the future. He's healthy and ready to go despite being traded. I think Alex Len is an extremely interesting piece. I think he makes a ton of sense, but the big question mark is how he is going to, if he signs the Lakers, how he's going to be able to hold up on defense, because, I mean, a lineup with Luka, Reaves, and Alex Len in it is not even Rui Hachimura is a really poor defensive lineup. And even LeBron James, he's capable at times, hasn't been a great defender over the past few seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see at least perimeter defense for LeBron. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Many predictions are Alex Len, but ultimately, whether it's Alex Len, Daniel Tice, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, they need to sign someone. They need to sign someone fast, and hopefully they can get someone that fits fairly well with Luka Doncic, even if it is picking from a very slim, amount of options in the buyout league. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later. Cheers.